Well, Paul, there's no doubt that the computer was responsible for much of the productivity gains and economic growth that we saw in the second half of the century. One factor that led computers to make the inroads that they did in business was the rise of computer networking. And one of the powerhouses in the world of computer networking is Cisco Systems. I spoke with Cisco's president and CEO, John Chambers. Mr. Chambers, this has been an amazing 100 years of technological innovation. If you had to single out one significant innovation in this century, what would it be?
I'd have to say it was the one that came at the latter part of the century, and that was the Internet. The Internet changes everything. It doesn't just apply to a small segment of business or to just a few countries. It will truly, along with education, be the equalizer. It will change every company, every individual's life, every country. And it will wait for no one. So I would have to say that was the key event from a technology perspective for the century.
We've seen in this century how railroads, the telephone, airlines, computers have connected people like never before.
Yes.
And now with the internet and this whole new wave of telecommunications, tell us how this is going to impact our lives going forward.
I think it has a chance to do each year or two what the Industrial Revolution did in a decade. We refer to it as internet years or dog years. 1 calendar year is 7 years in a dog's life, 1 calendar year is 7 years in the internet's life. So transitions that occurred in the last century over 1 to 2 decades will occur in this next century over 1 to 2 years. That will mean companies will thrive and then fail. It means individuals can have a huge role in society very quickly. It will allow for the capital flow very quickly to occur from one company to another that used to take decades in the old world.
You know, everyone talks about broadband, of how the TV, the telephone, the computer, the internet are all going to come together.
Yes.
Looking to the next decade or 2 decades out, how is this whole convergence going to change our home, our workplace, our social interactions, do you think?
You walk into your kitchen and you'll be able to literally, as you take things out of your refrigerator, swipe them across a reader that will know what you're taking out of the refrigerator, what they need to reorder. You'll be able to stand in front of your microwave and while you're cooking something, be able to get the idea of how quickly should it cook. And by the way, while you're doing that, checking about the weather for where you're going to go tomorrow and get a map printed out on it.
What about in the office?
Using Cisco as an example, we're the most advanced users of the internet in most people's opinion going back 2.5 years ago. We did 1/3 of the world's e-commerce. We do our customer support over it. Today we do virtual manufacturing, virtual close, almost all employee services. Put in lay terms, what that means is everyone from the president down to the individual person on the shop floor to the individual person servicing or supporting our equipment has changed the way that he or she does their job, and you haven't seen anything yet. On the person's body, there will be, I think, 5, and it wouldn't surprise me to see 10 internet devices. Not just a phone and a pager and an ability to determine where you are from global position sensing, but there'll be health monitoring devices that will let you know if suddenly your heart starts to behave erratically, notify your doctor or the hospital, even dispense an ambulance. But what I'm really saying is that it will change everything. And if you could take your imagination and turn it loose, you're probably going to underestimate what's going to happen in just 2 decades.
As a businessman in charge of one of the fastest growing technology companies, you have said that a successful technology company will succeed not because of the big beating the small, but the fast beating the slow. Tell us what you mean by that.
If you look at technology companies, what does Sun Microsystems, Intel, Microsoft, and Cisco have in common? And all of us worded differently. Andy Grove said only the paranoid survive. Bill Gates would say we're only 2 years away from failure at Microsoft at any point in time. Scott McNealy would say a similar thing, and so would Cisco. And so within the technology industry, you've got to operate with that mentality of making change a part of your culture, even though change makes us all uncomfortable, including the CEO. But what has changed, this will not be a technology evolution anymore. It's going to change all business. And so the fast will beat the slow in a way that we're just beginning to understand. The big that used to have the advantage of capital or physical locations or a large amount of resources or people, that it may actually be a disadvantage in the new economy, to where capital will move very quickly to the new ideas regardless of where they are in the world. And so the behavior in the stock market we might consider irrational today actually will be very common.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chambers.
My pleasure, Cece. Thank you for the time.